Good evening. Coming to you from the great baseball-centered Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports Network. I'm Chappy. It's Tuesday night, and we're starting to get a little bit closer to, the start of the season. We're like a month away, right, from spring training, from pitchers and catchers. So, I really do. I love this time of year. A lot of people say that this is slow. I think it's anything but. Just because I love getting in here and analyzing these players, figuring out who we value and where we can get bargains, right? I'm a bargain shopper. So, first off, you're listening to the Chaps Fantasy Chat. I come to you on Tuesday nights at 7 on the Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports Network at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com. This is meant to be an interactive show as we go throughout the night. You'll hear me answering questions, interacting with folks. If you go to the LennyMelnickFantasySports.com and you sign in, actually, you don't even have to sign in now. You can ask questions. You can interact. Got a really great start to this chat room tonight. I'm pretty excited about that. I want to say good evening. Good evening, Ed. Good evening, George. Lenny, of course, the founder. Malpow, Patrick. Guest Matilda. One day, I don't think Matilda's still with us. So, again, I'm really lucky to have a great network, a great group of people to do this with. But we're colleagues and we're friends because we think alike. So this is about all of us getting together and coming to the same conclusion. So when we go out and do our drafts, we're making sound decisions. We can vary on how we think, right? That's okay. But as long as there's thought behind it and there's a process behind it, that's the important thing. So what I've done for tonight's show is I've gone through and I started, we did pitchers 2 weeks ago. I wanted to start working on these hitters because this is great. The earlier you do this, the earlier you can determine trends, okay? So what do I mean by that? So tonight as I'm going through these guys, I'm going to give you ADPs where they are, their average ADP, and that is with Fantrax, that is with, got it right in front of me. That is with Fantrax, that is with, NFBC, Fantrax, and RT Sports. And that's the average of all three of those guys. So that's a really useful tool. Those are good sites to draw from. Hey, Ed, thanks for joining me, buddy. Appreciate you being here. So there really is a lot to break down, right? Even as I like to break it down into buckets. I like to break it down into corner infielders, middle infielders, and then outfielders. So that way, you can start to see where there's weaknesses, okay? So without further ado, we went anywhere from, right? I'm not a big show. I do all my own research. I'm not listening to, some of these other shows where you have people in their ear. I'm the only one doing this stuff, but I love doing it. So let's talk about this first tier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you, we're going to go tier by tier. I'm going to tell you the guys' ADPs, where I have them ranked, and where there's differences, why I have those differences, okay? So the elite of the elite, the first tier. Of course, Cody Bellinger's first on the list at the corner infield position. His ADP is 4.3, so you're talking about the first half of the first round. Bregman is number 2 at 7.7. Arenado is 3 at 11.3. Freeman is 4 at 16. And Devers is 5th at 21. Now, I want to pause because you're going to see as we go through here, this is my ranking. I've done this ranking. I'm going off of these ADPs as a base, right? Because you never want to reach too far for a player. But there are instances where maybe the industry values Jose Ramirez as the 5th overall corner infielder. Obviously, I personally prefer Rafael Devers. So you can go ahead and substitute Rafael Devers for Jose Ramirez and not have to reach and still get the guy you really want. That's why it's important to do these lists. That's why it's important to make these tiers, okay? So here's the first 5. This is the elite of the elite. I got, again, first round depictions for Bellinger and Bregman. Second round for the other 3, Arenado, Freeman, and Devers. Guys, I'm a big Rafael Devers fan. Obviously, I have him in this elite tier. But I purposefully, like I said, put him in front of guys like Jose Ramirez, Anthony Rendon. And the reason for doing so is that you don't have to trust your head when you're in a draft situation. You can rely on your notes. You know you value player X over player Y and player Z. So it then becomes just about where you're going to pick them, right? So let's talk about why I like Devers. I really do believe this is a guy last year came out of nowhere, not out of nowhere. He was an up-and-coming third baseman for sure before that. But he came into his own, right, last year. He even stole some bases. He hit .311 with 32 homers, 115 RBIs, 129 runs. Like I said, he even stole 8 bases. He's never really stolen bases at that clip, so he did get caught 8 times, but that's another story for another day, right? He's just 23 years old, and I really do believe that that is kind of the expectation for me. I won't say floor because I don't think that's a fair depiction. If he doesn't hit .311, I won't be disappointed. If he doesn't hit 32 homers, I won't be disappointed. If he hits 25 homers, I'll be okay with that, right? But Devers, I think, deserves to be in this elite tier, and he'll be looked to be the center point of that Red Sox lineup this year as he gets older, okay? The other guy I want to talk about in this group, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, Alex Bregman, I have him as a first-round pick. He's at 7.7. I do discount him just a touch, but I do think his numbers will be significant, will be first-round worthy. It just came down to, for me, I still valued him more than I valued Arenado because of the stolen base factor. Okay, so those are the types of things, especially when you're talking about a category like corner where there isn't a whole lot of speed, that you have to keep in mind. Bregman, with his, even if it's 10 to 12 stolen bases, he has 20 potential, but even if he gets you 10 stolen bases, is going to give you an extra chick in the armor that Arenado wouldn't. And that's why I valued him that way. Okay, so that's the first tier. The second tier, here's where again, this is about value. Guys, can you hear me? I feel like I'm talking forever and before I ask this. Let me know you can hear me, okay? This second tier is where we start to see guys that I feel like are a little bit skewed, overvalued. I want to, in this group, I will talk about one guy who I think is overvalued. But so this one, we're going from 6 to 12. Jose Ramirez, ADP is 20.7. Then Rendon at 18.7. Then Eugenio Suarez at 50.7. Thank you, Lenny. I appreciate that. Join us, guys. If you're listening and you're not tuned in to LennyMelnickFantasySports.com, come on over and interact. I mean, we got great podcasts. We got some of the best fantasy baseball minds in the world in this chat room. And I'm honored. Thank you, guys. So let's talk about value, okay? Actually, let me finish this list first. So Suarez at 50.7, Bryant at 53.7, Pete Alonso's at 28, Machado at 56.3, and then Matt Olson at 70.3. So again, this is where I talk about it's important to have these guys where you value them because you're the one drafting your team. You want to get the players you like, right? So you see them kind of all over the place. We start out with J-Ram, 20, Rendon, 18, then Suarez all the way up to 50. Why? Well, it's it's important to understand that trending, right? I'll just say that. It's important to understand trending. It's important to understand consistency. And I really do believe that with Suarez, and you look at his ancillary stuff, his team's improved. He's a year older in a good way. He is an established power hitter. His average is improved. There's a lot to like with Eugenio Suarez there. He hit 271 last year, guys. A lot of people, they'll tell you he hit 49 homers. They know that, right? But the 271, he hit 283 in 2018. I apologize. But you have to think he can hit you 270 to 280. And 50 homers isn't out of the reach of this guy. He's only 27 years old. He's not an old man by any stretch of the imagination. And with the added protection around him, Akiyama, Moustakas, Senzel healthy, you would have to think he's going to get a lot more opportunities to drive runs in. 104 is his career high. He had 103 last year. I think he has potential to get around 120 this year. Because if he's in the middle of that lineup, there's going to be opportunities and there's going to be players on base when he's batting. Here's my point. Here's my entire point. Why you do this list. I have him as the 8th corner infielder. Guys, at 50.7, Suarez is ranked behind Whit Merrifield, Ketel Marte, Charlie Blackmon, just to name a few. For those reasons I stated, he'll be 28 years old. This should literally be his prime years. He's a focal point of that offense. He should have better protection. I think he outperforms all those guys. Charlie Blackmon is a 39.3 ADP, guys. I'm saying I value Suarez higher than a guy 11 spots higher than him. Now, it doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. As long as the rationale's sound, you can't lose. That's why you make this, okay? Chris Bryant is kind of an enigma. I think he's a little bit low at 53.7. But I got to be honest when I'm telling you, I don't trust this guy. Outside of his MVP year, he's really been kind of a disappointment. Okay? He's hit over 290 in 16 and 17, but after that, his average dipped 24 points. He hit 282 last year. 31 homers. I know it sounds like I'm kind of nitpicking, because that's pretty good. Those are pretty good numbers. But he only drove in 77 runs. And remember his rookie year, he stole 13 bases. His stolen bases have trended down almost every year. So I really do feel like Chris Bryant might be... I go back and forth on this, right? Because as a Cubs fan, I see his potential. I see what he can do. I know that they're on their last chance. But guys, you guys know this. Stats don't lie. This guy hasn't been able to put it all together. So I hope Chris Bryant figures it out this year. I'm skeptical. Tonight's show is brought to you by Hotel Tango Ready to Drink Bourbon.